Chapter 301. But before they could react, Old Man Guayu had already reached the second door. His steps had always been heavy and swaying as if he was drunk. The students heard it clearly and their faces changed. Each of them held their breaths, afraid that Old Man Guayu outside the courtyard would sense their presence. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she sized up the expressions of the surrounding students. These students obviously didn't want any masters to discover the devil class's secret, even if this master was extremely mysterious and powerful. Little brats, why aren't you coming out to welcome me when you hear my voice? What kind of cowardice are you guys? Outside the courtyard, Old Man Guayu roared in a rough voice. Yiqing Luo suddenly recalled that in order to prevent outsiders from discovering this training ground, Bei Ming Lulu had smeared a bunch of unknown drugs on the door. If Old Man Guayu touched those drugs, her expression changed and immediately shouted, "Master Guayu, don't push the door." Just as her voice fell, a strong gust of wind was set off. Yiqing Luo's open mouth was sprayed with a mouthful of sand. Immediately, a boom sound was heard and the second door fell straight down. Sand and pebbles flew as the dust curled up. Yiqing Luo was stunned. The students were also stunned. What kind of broken door is this? How dare you block my way? A valiant and spirited voice spat out fiercely. In the midst of the dust, a slender figure was faintly discernible. Old Man Guayu was wearing a loose teacher's white robe. Both of his hands were in the middle of retracting his palms. His face, which was full of wrinkles and appeared fierce, was filled with an impatient expression. Perhaps Old Man Guayu was going to meet the students today, so he had specially tied his usual messy hair into a teacher's hairstyle. After the dust dispersed, Old Man Guayu saw Yiqing Luo standing at the door, messy in the wind. He was beaming with joy as he quickly walked into the training ground and opened his arms to embrace Yiqing Luo. "Luo lass, I'm here. Haha, I'm finally here to be your teacher." Old Man Guayu's character was so simple and crude. The students, each of them felt like there were thousands of horses galloping and roaring in their hearts. Damn. This old man was the legendary Old Man Guayu? Are you sure he's not a crazy old man? The most important thing was their door. Their door that was immune to all poisons. It was destroyed just like that. Cough, cough, cough. Yiqing Luo suddenly choked and spat out the sand in her mouth. "Master Guayu?" Old Man Guayu wrapped his arm around Yiqing Luo's shoulder and said with a grin, "You don't know how much I have suffered in order to be your teacher. That old fellow, the dean, wants me to back off in the face of difficulties. My heart to teach Luo Yu is not something he can stop." The first sentence, Old Man Guayu's tone seemed to be seeking credit from Yiqing Luo. The last sentence was filled with pride. She didn't know if it was Yiqing Luo's misperception, but when he mentioned the director, that pair of turbid eyes of Old Man Guayu vaguely revealed a hint of ridicule. In the blink of an eye, it was replaced by complacency. It was so fast that Yiqing Luo wondered if she had seen wrongly. This is... Xiao Jin's expression was extremely ugly. Before he could stop Old Man Guayu, he had already barged in. If Old Man Guayu revealed the devil class's secret to the academy, these students who had turned over a new leaf would definitely be dispersed to other classes. Thinking of this, Xiao Jin's expression turned even uglier. Chapter 302. A bunch of little brats, aren't you going to welcome me when you hear my voice? Are you looking for a beating? Old Man Guayu pointed at the surrounding students and put on a teacher's posture. "I'm telling you, I will be the only teacher in the devil class in future. Little brats, if you want to have a good life, don't forget to please me." Students? He was indeed a crazy old man. Totally unable to tell what was so powerful and mysterious about him. No wonder the academy would let him be a teacher in the devil class. "Teacher Guayu." Yiqing Luo called out softly. She could tell that Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi's faces had sunk after Old Man Guayu said those words. Old Man Guayu turned his head around with a face full of smiles. "Do you feel that I have the demeanor of a teacher today?" This smile made Yiqing Luo's heart feel as though it had been struck hard somewhere. After some time, her pink lips moved and revealed a warm smile. "Yes, Teacher Guayu." Old Man Guayu's eyes were clear and his smile was very clean. He was happy from the bottom of his heart to be able to become a teacher in the devil class. Even if the reason why he wanted to be a teacher was mostly because of her. But Old Man Guayu, who had no grudges and was not ashamed of the devil class, his heart to become a teacher was sincere. He who had always been slovenly had changed into a clean teacher's robe today. That head of dry hair was tied neatly at the back of his head. For so many years, had Old Man Guayu changed himself for anyone? Even if it was such a big event like the Heavenly Academy's recruitment, he had always put on a sloppy look and had never thought of tidying up his image. But for the devil class he changed himself. Yiqing Luo's eyes gradually filled with warmth. Her pink lips curled up slightly as she took the initiative to hold old man Guiyu's hand, but her vision shifted to Xiao Jin. I want to meet the class monitor. After being together for half a month, Xiao Jin naturally understood Yiqing Luo's intention. He frowned tightly and stared at Yiqing Luo for some time. All right. After dispersing the students, Yiqing Luo tried her best to persuade old man Guiyu back to his personal dormitory. Old man Guiyu might have sensed that devil class wasn't the class he had imagined, and looking at the atmosphere between Yiqing Luo and those students, he wasn't willing to make things difficult for Yiqing Luo, so he didn't insist on staying on. Returning to the dormitory, he had just closed his eyes to rest for a while when he heard Lu Xiaoyu and Lu Shuiyue arguing outside the hall. She frowned and pressed down on her aching brows as she stood up. When he opened the door, he saw Lu Xiaoyu standing beside the wooden table, while Lu Shuiyu was sitting elegantly to the side, drinking tea. Her cold eyes were filled with disdain. Seeing Yiqing Luo coming out, Lu Xiaoyu was slightly stunned and her expression immediately softened. Qing Luo, sorry to wake you up. During this period of time, Yiqing Luo seemed to be especially busy. Every time she returned to the freshman training grounds, she would disappear without a trace. If she knew that Yiqing Luo was sleeping in the dormitory, she would definitely not argue with Lu Shuiyu. Seeing Yiqing Luo, a sliver of astonishment flashed past Lu Shuiyu's eyes. Yiqing Luo waved her hand. What's wrong? Isn't it because of some conceited person showing off? Before Lu Xiaoyu could finish her sarcastic words, it was suppressed by Lu Shuiyu's cold voice. Merely talking about the matter of the high profound class entering the heavenly training forest tomorrow. Your little follower is currently envious and jealous. Chapter 303. We are freshmen, you are an old woman who has been in the academy for a few years. What's there to be proud of if you know what kind of place the heavenly training forest is? Lu Xiaoyu gritted her teeth and snorted coldly. Looking at Lu Shuiyu's smug look, the more she looked, the more annoyed she was. She didn't know what she was so proud of. Lu Shuiyu, who was putting on a superior attitude and was ready to explain where the heavenly training forest was, when she heard the three words old woman, her face immediately turned black. Age was a woman's biggest Achilles heel. Especially someone like Lu Shuiyu who was already 20 years old. The most intolerable thing was these three words. At 20 years old, in this era she was probably the mother of a few children. Lu Shuiyu entered the Heavenly Academy at the age of 15 and had been accompanying Si Yanmu for 5 years. Until now, Si Yanmu had no intention to marry her. The people from the Lu family were urging her openly and secretly. These three words simply poked at Lu Shuiyu's sore spot. Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Shuiyu's eyes were scarlet red, her fingers suddenly clenched into a fist. The teacup in her hand suddenly exploded and shattered into pieces. She slammed the table and stood up, the palm wind directly pressed towards Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Xiaoyu had never thought that Lu Shuiyu would dare to directly make a move and immediately did not react. It was Yiqing Luo who tugged her from behind, flipped her hand and set off a palm wind to meet the attack. The two palms met, the strong airflow was undisguised, setting off a huge wave in the dormitory. Everything in the hall was thrown to the ground with a crackling sound. Lu Shuiyu and Yiqing Luo took a step back at the same time. Qing Luo, you are crazy. Lu Xiaoyu immediately came up and supported Yiqing Luo. The academy does not allow students to fight in private. Just now both of them had released their profound qi, it would definitely be detected by the profound qi sensing device set up by the academy. And Lu Shuiyu, who was forced to take 2 steps back and finally stood firm, when she heard Lu Xiaoyu's words, she quivered. Lu Shuiyu, who had always been calm and self-controlled, other than Si Yanmu, nothing could disturb her emotions. He was actually provoked by Lu Xiaoyu's words and made a move? Yiqing Luo's eyes were smiling as an enchanting light flowed in her charming eyes. Vice President, what a coincidence, I happen to know what kind of place the heavenly training forest is. Her index finger brushed a strand of hair on her shoulder as she smiled charmingly. As the Vice President, you knowingly broke the law. I wonder if you can still participate in the training of your high profound class tomorrow? You. Lu Shuiyu's face darkened even more. She was so angry that her whole body trembled. Just now you also used your xianxia. Do you think you can escape? Me? So what? Yiqing Luo chuckled. The person who is going to the training forest is not me. Even if I am punished by the academy, it is not a big loss. But It is a rare actual combat training. I am afraid you will not be able to show your strength in front of Xianmu. Lu Shuiyu's cold eyes were filled with disbelief. Yiqing Luo had more or less guessed his thoughts. Lu Shuiyue was about to vomit blood. She wasn't an impulsive person, but the minute she saw Lu Xiaoyu, she thought of Yiqing Luo. She just couldn't hold it in. She subconsciously used tomorrow's training forest to ridicule Lu Xiaoyu and Yiqing Luo. But she didn't expect to be slapped in the face by Yiqing Luo. Not only did she know about the training forest, she even forced her to act impulsively. Chapter 304. Footsteps were heard outside the dormitory door. Lu Shuiyu held her breath. The elders had found their way here so quickly? Soon after, accompanied by the crisp sound of a bell, the dormitory door was pushed open. Mo Yuing stuck her head in and stared at Yiqing Luo. "Student Yi, please come over." Lu Shuiyu heaved a sigh of relief. Yiqing Luo patted Lu Xiaoyu's hand lightly and asked her to return to her room to rest, in case Lu Shuiyu vented her anger on her. Staring at Yiqing Luo's departing figure, Lu Shuiyu clenched her fists tightly as she gritted her teeth. Just two waste from the waste class, birds of a feather flock together. Lu Xiaoyu sneered, "If you have the time, why don't you think about how to explain to your dear president that you knowingly broke the law today?" Saying that, she ignored Lu Shuiyu's hateful gaze and walked straight into her room. Following Mo Yuing, they arrived at the devil class. On the training ground, they saw a few students who were training. Walking straight, they stopped in front of the wooden door next to the classroom. Above the wooden door, there was a plaque with strong and vigorous handwriting, written with the words "Class Committee." Looking at the handwriting and the degree of delicacy of the plaque, it should be from Long Yunzhan's hands. Mo Yuing knocked on the door and a clear voice was heard from inside, "Come in." Mo Yuing pushed the door and the two entered the room. This room, rather than saying it was the class committee, it was more like a library. It wasn't a big room, but there were more than 10 bookshelves displaying various books. At the end of the bookshelf, there was an 8-person square table. Long Yunzhan and the rest of the class committee sat by the side. Seeing Yiqing Luo coming over, Xiao Jin pulled a wooden chair over and gestured for her to sit down. "Want to plead for that teacher?" Long Yunzhan looked up indifferently, his azure blue eyes were flowing with a glossy luster. His gaze was as clear as water, without any fluctuation. Being stared at, Yiqing Luo felt a chill down her spine. She pursed her lips and shook her head slowly. "It's not pleading, Teacher Guiyu doesn't need any pleading, I just hope you can consider accepting him." "Reason." Long Yunzhan spat out 2 words. Yiqing Luo smiled, "Because the devil class needs teachers." Xiao Jin frowned, "Devil class has the class monitor and us. All these years we still didn't have a teacher and we still managed to come this far." Yin Xiaoyi nodded her head. She put away her usual loveliness and replied solemnly, "Teacher is a member of the academy after all. Placing someone from the academy in our class will only hinder our training in the future." "Is Guiyu." Yiqing Luo's voice was very soft, but it carried an unquestionable charisma, easily suppressing the duo's rebuttal. Her pink lips curled up slightly, her pair of charming eyes calm and clear. "I'm sure the class monitor has heard of his name. To be able to be second only to the dean in the academy, it is enough to prove his own strength. I admit, the main reason why Teacher Guiyu came to the devil class to teach is because of me, but the bigger reason is because he wants to become a teacher." Saying that, the smile on Yiqing Luo's lips revealed some gentleness. "You've put in so much effort for the devil class's students, don't tell me you're really willing to hide behind others." She didn't believe that these students wanted to be waste for the rest of their lives. Who didn't want to stand in front of everyone openly and tell everyone that they were not waste? However, they couldn't say it out loud. This was the devil class's secret, everyone's secret. Chapter 305. Yiqing Luo's words made the few of them silent. They had to admit that what she said was right. Long Yunzhan had no intention to keep this secret. He wanted to lead the devil class to become the first class in the academy at the most appropriate time. Guiyu's appearance was indeed an opportunity to bring the devil class out of everyone's sight. But who in the academy did not know of Guiyu's reputation? The news of him coming to teach in the devil class would definitely spread throughout the academy. Then wouldn't the devil class be exposed before it matured? This could easily lead to the academy forcefully allocating these students to other classes. Although you are able to guide the students and are respected by them, but the class monitor and the masters are not the same. Yiqing Luo smiled again. Previously, they would chase away the masters sent by the academy because they are unable to acknowledge that those masters have the ability to guide them. The masters were proud and arrogant and there was competition between them. He wanted to raise his status by teaching outstanding students. No one was willing to teach the devil class. The masters looked down on the devil class, these students naturally looked down on those masters too. But Guiyu is different. Yiqing Luo's slender fingertips gently stroked the profound phoenix ring on her finger. Don't worry about his status, there is no reason for him to compete with the other masters for results. Immediately, her fingers paused beside the ring. Her fair fingers, when contrasted with the ring that was emitting a red flowing light, appeared exceptionally bewitching. Guiyu's ability is enough to shock the students. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved deeper, her smile became wider. Moreover, it is undeniable that deep in the hearts of the students, they still yearn for a master to teach, isn't it? Showing one's ability in front of the class monitor and showing one's ability in front of the masters, this state of mind was completely different. Just like showing one's skills to one's companions or friends, and showing one's skills in front of the elders were completely different. To obtain the elders' recognition and praise, it was as if one had already surpassed the elders. These students who would want others to mention the devil class, with an attitude of, so it's the class that no masters are willing to teach, or something like that. Long Yunzhan narrowed his azure blue eyes slightly. The hand that was propping up his chin moved slightly. The others looked at each other in dismay. From the other party's eyes, she could tell that he had already been convinced by Yiqing Luo. After a while, Beiming Lulu frowned slightly. Student Yi, what you said, we admit, your thoughts are indeed very good, but after all these are just your thoughts. If Teacher Guiyu were to inform the dean about the devil class, I'm afraid that devil class, I won't. Yiqing Luo replied firmly, I know Teacher Guiyu's character very well. If he had set his mind on you in this academy, no matter what happens, he would unconditionally stand on the devil class's side. Old man Guiyu was extremely protective, and it was obvious that he had some relationship with the academy. Seeing Yiqing Luo so certain, Beiming Lulu didn't ask any further. They all looked at Long Yunzhan. Long Yunzhan's vision was fixated on the profound phoenix ring on Yiqing Luo's fingertip. Only when Yan Xiaoyi called out to the class monitor did he suddenly come back to his senses. The few of them felt strange and looked at the ring on Yiqing Luo's finger. Yiqing Luo was the young matriarch of the Three Springs sect and she was so powerful, it was normal for her to have a spatial ring in her hands. Chapter 306. Yiqing Luo's eyelids drooped as she gazed at the profound phoenix ring on her fingertips. Long Yunzhan shouldn't be staring at the profound phoenix ring. But Yiqing Luo sensed Chi-Chi's restlessness from the pet space as she clasped her hands together and comforted Chi-Chi in her heart, asking it to wait for a while. Guiyu is indeed a different existence in the academy, I believe in student Yi. Long Yunzhan, who had been silent for a long time, opened his mouth indifferently as his azure blue eyes seemed to be flickering. If you have no objections, then let Guiyu become devil class's teacher. Xiao Jin's expression could no longer be described as ugly. Even the usually expressionless, puppet-like Mo Ying also widened that pair of lively and adorable big eyes, staring at Long Yunzhan in disbelief. Was this still their Sir Class Monitor? Why did it seem as though ever since Yiqing Luo appeared, Sir Class Monitor seemed to have changed into another person? Initially on the first day when Yiqing Luo just entered the class, Long Yunzhan came to devil class twice, which made Xiao Jin and the rest secretly guessed. Originally, Xiao Jin was certain that Long Yunzhan had feelings for Yiqing Luo. But in the following half a month, Long Yunzhan was the same as before, not coming to devil class at all. Just at this moment, their hearts were finally put at ease, dispelling the idea of the godly class monitor having mortal heart. But now it seemed as though they were relieved too early? Xiao Jin and the rest were able to stay by Long Yunzhan's side for so many years, naturally they weren't fools. By now, how would they not understand that Long Yunzhan specially asked Yiqing Luo to give a reason to accept Guiyu, was actually to convince them. Right from the start, Long Yunzhan had no intention to reject Yiqing Luo's suggestion. This was simply too inconceivable. I don't agree. I definitely don't agree. Outside the door, a lady's cold voice was heard. The class committee's door was pushed open and a lady dressed in green and white uniform stood at the entrance. Her expression was icy cold, but her brows were filled with unyielding stubbornness. I only acknowledge class monitor and only listen to his training. Tong Ziqing, who allowed you to barge into the class committee? Xiao Jin's face sunk as he shouted sternly. Tong Ziqing raised her head up high with a calm look. I'm willing to accept the punishment for the crime of trespassing. But as a student of devil class, I have the right to raise my opinion. Xiao Jin's brows immediately knitted tightly. He naturally saw through Tong Ziqing's thoughts towards Long Yunzhan. Just as he was, Yiqing Luo's raised her hand. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly as she placed her palms on the wooden table and stood up slowly. Although she was not as tall as Tong Ziqing, she released a majestic aura when she stood up. Tong Ziqing's heart skipped a beat, and she subconsciously took half a step back. Indeed, every student has the right to voice out their own opinions. Since student Tong has an opinion, I'm all ears. Yiqing Luo gave a bewitching smile. However, that smile made Tong Ziqing's hair stand on end. His throat seemed to be blocked by something, and he couldn't utter a single word for a long time. Tian's was teacher from. But Luanon Long Ling Ling Lu, Tian Long Long said. Yiqing Luo leaned against the wooden chair as she crossed her arms. Student Tong, are you in devil class for your studies or for the class monitor? The moment she said that, the entire room fell into a dead silence. Tong Ziqing's face flushed red. She liked Long Yunzhan and everyone in devil class knew that. However, she had openly revealed this matter in front of Long Yunzhan. No matter how noble and elegant she was still a young lady after all. Chapter 307. On the contrary, Long Yunzhan's expression was calm, as though the class monitor which Yiqing Luo mentioned wasn't him. Tong Ziqing had wanted to take the opportunity to sneak a peek at Long Yunzhan's face to see his answer. But as soon as he saw it, his heart turned cold. If it's for the class monitor, even if Guiyu becomes the teacher of the devil class, the class monitor is still the class monitor of the devil class. You can still cling onto the class monitor and pester him every day. Yiqing Luo didn't seem to notice the strange atmosphere as she continued talking. Her brows slightly raised, her charming eyes revealing a teasing look. If it's for learning, having Guiyu as a teacher is naturally beneficial to you. So, do you have any other opinions? Her words caused Tong Ziqing's face to turn red. She clenched her fists tightly, and her entire body trembled. Fortunately, Tong Ziqing had a strong mental fortitude. If it were any other woman, she would have covered her face and left in tears. She forcefully suppressed the surging anger within her, controlling her own emotions as her icy cold beautiful eyes stared icily at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo, someone like you is totally not fit to be in the class committee. Tong Ziqing. Xiao Jin shouted in a low voice when he saw the two of them quarreling in public. He walked forward to take Tong Ziqing away. Tong Ziqing forcefully pushed Xiao Jin away as a trace of viciousness surfaced on her cold and beautiful face. Yiqing Luo, do you feel that you're very great? You are very proud of helping that trash and Rupan advance, right? But, do you know that this kind of sympathy of yours is totally not needed in the devil class? Yiqing Luo scoffed softly as she glanced at Tong Ziqing with a smile that didn't look like a smile. This gaze caused the anger in Tong Ziqing's heart to rise to its peak. Don't always think of yourself as the savior of the world. Rupan needs your help, but I don't. For someone like Rupan, even if she graduates from the academy, she'll only be a burden to others and drag them down in the world of martial arts. Your kindness today will cause the death of others. The more Tong Ziqing said, the more ridiculous she felt Yiqing Luo was. Not only did he want to help Rupan, he also wanted to help Guiyu enter the devil class. Did Yiqing Luo really felt that she had this ability? After Tong Ziqing roared, her chest heaved up and down as she panted heavily. Her secret of liking Long Yunzhan had already been exposed by Yiqing Luo in public, so she didn't intend to keep any face at all. Today she would never agree to let Guiyu enter the devil class. Unexpectedly, after Tong Ziqing finished howling, Yiqing Luo laughed softly. Her eyes were filled with mockery and her pink lips curled into a smile filled with disdain. Foolish. Two clear words spilled out from Yiqing Luo's pink lips. Tong Ziqing's face turned ashen. As for Xiao Jin, who went up to stop them, he stared at Yiqing Luo in astonishment. As though she had not expected Yiqing Luo to ridicule Tong Ziqing without giving her any face. Actually, Xiao Jin and the rest also greatly approved of Tong Ziqing's words in their hearts. Otherwise, he wouldn't have allowed his students to bully Rupan. To them, they were weak to begin with. If they didn't think about improving themselves, then they should be prepared to be abandoned. Because it wasn't that they didn't give the weak a chance, but Rupan herself didn't need this chance. But after Yiqing Luo came to devil class, she stood up for Rupan time and time again, even attempting to change Rupan. Chapter 308. Number 1. Yiqing Luo raised one finger as her half-squinted eyes flashed a trace of ridicule. No matter if you are willing or not, Master Guiyu is the teacher that the academy had arranged to teach in the devil class. As a student, you can only listen obediently. She paused for a moment as her pink lips curled slightly. Of course, you can try to gather your classmates and use the same method to deal with those teachers in the devil class to deal with Master Guiyu. If you are able to successfully force Master Guiyu to retreat, Yiqing Luo will be the first to submit to you. Tong Ziqing clenched her fists tightly as her expression turned sinister. Yiqing Luo's words were obviously intentional. Guiyu was the exception in this academy as his ability was unfathomable. Especially that day at the training ground, she saw Guiyu smashing the second courtyard door with one palm, which showed how bad his temper was. If she used the same old method to deal with Guiyu, she would probably lose her life. Don't dare? Yiqing Luo saw the anger in Tong Ziqing's eyes as she sneered. If you are afraid, don't have the courage, then be like a tortoise and hide your head. Yiqing Luo put up 2 fingers tightly. Number 2, I am willing to help in Ruopan. That is my matter. Your ignorance has nothing to do with me. She lowered her hand, and her resolute gaze swept across everyone in the room. You think that the weak are dragging others down and deserve to be abandoned. But have you ever thought that no matter how weak the weak are, they are still your comrades? Tong Ziqing was stunned. Long Yunzhan's azure blue eyes started to fluctuate faintly. What is the reason why you want to become stronger? To stand at the peak of your life? To have a better reputation, to act cool and slap faces everywhere you go? Or to show off to others how strong you are? Tong Ziqing didn't answer as she bit her lower lip tightly, unable to respond to Yiqing Luo's question. Yiqing Luo's gaze fell onto Qiao Jin. However, those few avoided her gaze, unwilling to answer. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled slightly as she continued, I am doing this to survive in this world, to protect those people whom I care about. A person who can't even find a reason to become stronger, is there any meaning in becoming stronger brainlessly? Tong Ziqing hung her head in shame, her fingers clenching her sleeves tightly. Most importantly, when a person embarks on the path to becoming a powerhouse, they cannot do without a team and companions around them. Yiqing Luo's gaze was fiery as she looked straight at Long Yunzhan. Class monitor had trained devil classes students to such a strong state, but in their hearts, the only one they submit to is the class monitor and the class committee members. But if we're talking about unity, I'm sure you can feel it. These people can fight together over small matters, but when it comes to matters of life and death, they all stay away from each other. Without waiting for Long Yunzhan to speak, Yan Xiaoyi blinked her bright eyes and clapped her hands. Yes. You're absolutely right. You've only been in the devil class for half a month, how can you tell? The first day. Yiqing Luo replied indifferently. If the class was really united, Rupan wouldn't have been bullied. These students, because they were once trash, had been injured by others. Other than herself, other than Long Yunzhan and the class committee members who had saved them from hell, they were unable to sincerely accept anyone else. However, a large part of the reason was also because Qiao Jin and the rest were people who were used to being alone. Chapter 309. Think about it, in this world, who can stir up a storm by himself? Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile. Even if it's the overlord, he has the imperial palace behind him as his solid backing. Then what about you? Yiqing Luo threw out another question. If anything happens to you as your companions, devil classes students, will they risk their lives to help you? Qiao Jin and the rest remained silent. This question was hard to answer. Currently, devil class had never met with any especially dangerous incidents. From the looks of it, these students were extremely respectful towards them. But if it really came to a life and death juncture, would they sacrifice themselves to save them? Yes, we will. Tong Ziqing looked at Long Yunzhan in a daze. We are devil classes students, we are each other's companions. If something happens to the class monitor, I will be the first to rush up. Yiqing Luo sneered, don't be too serious about double standards. Previously you said that I can't represent devil classes thoughts and accept teacher Guiyu, then on what basis do you represent devil classes students to answer this question? Tong Ziqing was stuffed speechless. Yiqing Luo then returned to the study table and sat down again, looking straight at Long Yunzhan opposite her. A person, if he has a strong backing, has enough trust, and is able to leave his back to the other party's companion, he will definitely be able to stand at the top of the world. So, I will not give up on any companion who has hope. The past her was like this, totally not like a human but of flesh and blood, but a machine without a heart. What she lacked was a companion whom she could trust. If she had trained her own companion right from the start, then she wouldn't have been schemed against by that bunch of old men that day. Clap, clap, clap. A burst of crisp applause reverberated in the silent room. Long Yunjian laughed softly. Well said. Well said. He stood up and his blue luxurious robe followed his movement, as it was like an extremely shallow water wave, pouring down in torrents. It complemented that elegant face, as handsome as the flowing snow in the wind. That's right, the most important thing for a person is not his own battle ability, but the ability to display his strength together with his companions. Long Yunjian's eyes shone slightly. Have you heard of 3 evils? The few of them immediately nodded. When Yiqing Luo heard this name, her eyelids twitched. She remembered that on the day she entered the academy, she was almost assassinated by 3 people at the back door of the academy. It was also there that she met Mo Yuing. Mo Yuing told her that the 3 people who tried to assassinate her were the 3 evil spirits of Godless Island. She didn't really believe it. At this moment, hearing Long Yunjian mention it, for some reason, the faces of those 3 people subconsciously appeared in his mind. When the 3 of them combine, no one can gain the upper hand against them. It is said that the 3 of them even fought to a draw with the Overlord. Yin Shaoyi told them all the information that she knew. The 3 evils are rumored to be triplets. Their telepathy is extremely strong, and all of their movements and moves are exactly the same. It's like looking into a mirror. Baiming Lulu propped up her chin and said with interest. Long Yunjian nodded slowly. The reason why they are strong is because they use the power of the team extremely well. If the 3 of them were separated, they would be easy to deal with, but if the 3 of them were together, they would be extremely difficult to deal with. Recalling the rumors of the 3 evil spirits and linking it to Yiqing Luo's words. Chapter 310. Since no one has any objections, then tomorrow I will let Teacher Guiyu participate in the actual combat training, so that Teacher Guiyu can take a look at each student's aptitude and prescribe the right medicine. Yiqing Luo took the opportunity to raise her own opinion. Letting Guiyu join in the actual combat training was the best opportunity for Guiyu and the students to interact. She believed that no matter how irascible Guiyu's temper was in Devil class, he would definitely become the best teacher. Because a person's eyes would never lie. When Guiyu came, his gaze towards these students was very sincere and clean. Especially, Guiyu was obviously powerful, but for so many years he was willing to stay in Heavenly Academy, becoming a crazy old man. It could be seen that he had feelings towards the academy. It wasn't that Guiyu didn't want to teach the class. But there wasn't a suitable class, no class which was worth moving him. Guiyu was Devil class's opportunity. In other words, Devil class was also Guiyu's opportunity. Qiao Jin and the rest shifted their gazes towards Long Yunjian. They wanted to reject but couldn't find any excuse to refute. What Yiqing Luo said was very reasonable. They had already been convinced by Yiqing Luo's words. No matter how powerful one person was, he would not be able to defeat a team. Only by being in sync and in harmony, to be able to leave their backs to each other's comrades and team, would they be able to stand at the top of the world. Take the simplest example. In this Devil class, the class committee members were each other's backing. That was why they were able to train this bunch of self-abased and cowardly students to today's standard. Qiao Jin squinted his eyes slightly as he gazed at Yiqing Luo's gaze, with some profound meaning. But in the half a month's time in Devil class, Yiqing Luo had easily seen through the problems in Devil class. Her insight was really extraordinary. Even Tong Ziqing's expression, which was originally a mixture of green and red, had gradually changed. Tong Ziqing stared at Yiqing Luo, as her eyes no longer had the coldness and disdain from earlier. There was only unwillingness. She was unresigned to what Yiqing Luo said, as she had no words to refute. She was unresigned that Yiqing Luo could see through everything so thoroughly, and had successfully convinced the class committee and even herself. She was unresigned that her pride had been turned into dregs by Yiqing Luo. But no matter how unwilling they were, they had no choice but to admit that Yiqing Luo indeed had the qualifications to become a class committee member. I have no objections. Tong Ziqing gritted her teeth and clenched her fists. Before she turned to leave, she turned her head back and stared at Long Yunjian in a daze. However, Long Yunjian sat there with a calm expression, as if he didn't notice her existence at all. Tong Ziqing pursed her red lips, closed the door and strode away. Student Yi, don't be calculative with Ziqing. That lass's nature isn't bad, it's just that she's used to being arrogant, and now she can't lower her pride to acknowledge you. In her heart, she has long treated you as a student of the Devil class. Qiao Jin saw the awkward atmosphere and laughed dryly to ease the atmosphere. Yiqing Luo shook her head as her lips curled. I know. She did not blame Tong Ziqing. In the devil class, Tong Ziqing had always been worshipped as goddess Tong, and she had always admired Long Yunzhan. The minute Yiqing Luo appeared, she attracted Long Yunzhan's attention and directly became a member of the class committee. The arrogant Tong Ziqing naturally felt that her face had been slapped resoundingly. As long as one was human, there would be jealousy in their hearts. This was human nature. Student Yi, do you have time? Chapter 311. Coincidentally, I also have something to tell you in private. Yiqing Luo smiled calmly. However, the two of them had a frank expression on their faces, as if they were discussing something with their companions. But in the eyes of Xiao Jin and the others, no matter how they looked at it, it felt ambiguous. Are these two going to spend time alone and express their feelings to each other? This thought caused the faces of Xiao Jin and the others to instantly become a riot of colors. Class monitor, are you sure? Sure. Yan Xiaoyi blinked her watery eyes, her face filled with disbelief. I feel that it's better for us to be present. We can also avoid awkwardness. Don't you guys agree? Xiao Jin coughed lightly and said with a chuckle. Baiming Lulu nodded in agreement. Get out. Long Yunzhan's vision was fixed on Yiqing Luo, not shifting away at all. But that clear voice was still full of majesty. They looked at each other in dismay. After a moment of silence, they pushed each other and left. Xiao Jin had just closed the door when Long Yunzhan said, Go back to where you should go. Outside the door came the sound of several heavy objects falling to the ground, mixed with Xiao Jin's muffled groans. Shortly after, the sound of their footsteps gradually faded into the distance. The room fell into silence. Yiqing Luo's eyes were calm as she exchanged glances with Long Yunzhan. No one was the first to break this peace. Perhaps it had been quiet for a long time. Long Yunzhan's elegant brows creased slightly as his azure blue eyes fell from Yiqing Luo's face to Yiqing Luo's arms. There's a strange smell on your body that's very attractive to me. His eyes narrowed slightly as he slowly stood up and placed both his hands on the 8-square table as his body bent down towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Yiqing Luo did not evade. Their eyes didn't move away from each other. The two of them got closer and closer. Yiqing Luo vaguely sensed a cool breeze coming from somewhere. It was Wind's aura. Yiqing Luo stared at the approaching handsome face as she blinked her eyes. Could Ah Feng have misunderstood that there was something going on between her and Long Yunzhan? She and Long Yunzhan were innocent. The reason why she didn't avoid it was because she and Long Yunzhan had the same goal in their hearts. But even if these words were explained to Wind, asking him not to spout nonsense in front of DMO Xian, Wind probably wouldn't listen. He was about to push Long Yunzhan away to prevent Ah Feng from thinking deeper. Long Yunzhan had already stopped bending down. His head stopped right in front of Yiqing Luo as his nose sniffed lightly. Have we known each other before? I don't know him. Yiqing Luo answered without hesitation, flipped her palm and pulled out the restless Chi-Chi, but I think it should know you. Chi-Chi, whose fur was entirely white, shook its body as it nestled in Yiqing Luo's palm, widening its tiger eyes as it stared at Long Yunzhan without blinking. What a familiar smell. Chi-Chi's nose twitched and its little paws moved forward. His small body had already jumped onto Long Yunzhan's shoulder, sticking out his tongue and licking his body lightly. When Long Yunzhan saw Chi-Chi, he was completely stunned. His azure blue eyes were masked with a layer of hazy and unreal emotions. He allowed Chi-Chi to walk back and forth on his shoulder, allowing Chi-Chi's furry fur to brush past his face. Right, this is the smell? Long Yunzhan's voice was extremely soft, extremely soft. You're a sacred beast, this is the smell of a sacred beast. Ah, Chi-Chi moaned softly as though it was responding to Long Yunzhan's words. Chapter 312. Chi-Chi nodded and with a leap landed on the square table. It sat up straight and raised its small tiger head. Its pitch-black eyes reflected Long Yunzhan's figure. Long Yunzhan's expression instantly turned grave when he heard this. His 5 fingers, which were placed on the table, clenched tightly. His usually calm blue eyes revealed a trace of biting cold. Yiqing Luo, who was standing by the side, was totally dumbstruck. Although she had signed a contract with Mu Chichi, and they had reached the level of physical and mental compatibility, Mu Chichi was not a match for Mu Chichi. However, she still could not understand the beast language that Chichi was speaking. But why could Long Yunzhan understand? Moreover, he could communicate with Mu Chichi smoothly. Could it be that he understood the language of beasts? Wait, that's not right. Long Yunzhan had said that she had a very strange smell on her that attracted him. That scent must be Chi-Chi's scent. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she gazed at Long Yunzhan, who was staring at Qi without blinking, with a sincere attitude. A bold conjecture suddenly popped up in his mind. After forming a contract with Qi, she was tainted with the aura of a saint beast. That was why Long Yunzhan was attracted to her. Just like back then when that high-level mirage beast saw Shiju's mother, it didn't dare to act rashly because of the sacred beast aura on her. In other words, Long Yunzhan. Outside the door there was a sudden sound of footsteps, followed by Qiao Jin's voice. "Class monitor, classmate Yi, someone from the faculty council is here." Faculty council? Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly. It was probably because of the fight between her and Lu Shuiyu in the dormitory. His movements were quite fast. Yiqing Luo got up and left Qi behind as she followed Qiao Jin towards the outer boundary of Devil class. "You and class monitor." Qiao Jin's gaze wandered around Yiqing Luo's face as his face was filled with curiosity. "You think too much." Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes as she interrupted Qiao Jin's wild imagination. "If you have the heart to gossip, why don't you think about tomorrow's actual combat training on how to let the students obtain the greatest improvement in actual combat training?" Saying that, Yiqing Luo added another sentence. "At this time, we can also take the opportunity to train the students' enthusiasm towards group battles." Qiao Jin nodded his head. He also had this thought. Yiqing Luo's idea of team and companions was exactly what the Devil class lacked. It was indeed time for them to take action, using the method of nurturing team battles, to let the students of Devil class understand what a team was, and what comrades were. Previously, when you entered the training forest, it was based on your individual ability and performance. This time, you can choose to split into groups and choose the 3 most outstanding groups to be rewarded. Qiao Jin noted down all these suggestions. "Alright, I'll go with Lulu and the others to visit Teacher Guiyu later. We'll discuss the training rules for tomorrow." As the two of them spoke, they arrived at the desolate outer courtyard. The two of them stepped on the withered branches on the ground, making a crisp, creaking sound. Hearing the noise, a member of the faculty council who was standing not far from the Devil class with a face full of disgust looked over. "The faculty council has been looking for you every other day. What kind of excuse did you come up with this time?" Qiao Jin saw the look in the eyes of the 2 faculty council members and the corner of his mouth curled into a mocking smile. "A private brawl." Qiao Jin slowly gave a thumbs up. "You're awesome." The academy had a clear regulation that students were absolutely not allowed to brawl privately. In order to prevent this kind of situation from happening, the academy had specially spent a huge sum of money to install profound qi-sensing objects around the academy. In order to enter the Heavenly Academy, the students had given it their all. If they were chased out of the academy, their entire lives would be completely ruined. Chapter 313. I probably won't be able to take part in tomorrow's actual combat training. Yiqing Luo halted her footsteps. "Help me arrange Enai Ruapan and Tong Ziqing in the same team, and help me tell them that this is my request." These two. Qiao Jin didn't understand the reason why Yiqing Luo made such an arrangement. Enai Ruapan and Tong Ziqing were obviously at loggerheads with each other. Moreover, because of Yiqing Luo's reason, they probably hated each other even more. If these two were to be arranged in the same team, based on Tong Ziqing's usual performance, she would be able to obtain a good result in the actual combat training. But Enai Ruapan's aptitude. That was hard to say. By then, if Tong Ziqing didn't obtain the final victory, she would definitely blame Enai Ruapan for dragging her down. The conflict between these two would intensify. It was very likely to strike Enai Ruapan's self-esteem, which she had painstakingly built up. "Don't belittle Enai Ruapan." Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. "Those who don't give up on themselves are the strongest. If she gives up on herself this time, then we don't need to waste time on her in future." Saying that, Yiqing Luo had already started walking out of the Devil class's courtyard. At the entrance, there were 2 faculty council members with an impatient look on their faces. They felt that even getting half a step closer to the Devil class would lower their status. Yiqing Luo happened to know one of the faculty council members. Wasn't that the beauty who held her into the faculty council together with Lu Shuiyu without any explanation, the one who was addressed as Lu Fourth Miss by the other faculty council members? At that time when Lu Shuiyu discovered Wind, who was hiding in the dark, she ordered this Lu Fourth Miss to lure Wind away. After that, she didn't know who won between her and Wind. But to be able to exchange moves with Wind and successfully restrain him. From this, it could be seen that this Lu Fourth Miss ability wasn't weak. Looks like the academy made the right choice in arranging you into the waste class. It's only been half a month and you've already blended into a ball with that bunch of waste. Lu fourth Miss Lu Shuiyu's half-sister Lu Shuilan sneered in disdain. The lady beside her immediately echoed, "It can be seen that student Yi is destined to be a waste. Birds of a feather flock together, so waste naturally attracts waste." Lu Shuilan's line of sight shifted to the devil class, to Qiao Jin who was standing on a withered yellow branch, as she covered her mouth and laughed softly. Then could it be that she found a lover in the trash class? TSK. Trash and trash, a perfect match. Lu Shuilan's heart was filled with ridicule and disdain. Looking at Qiao Jin's unprepossessing face, he looked like a good-for-nothing, someone who would not be able to accomplish great things. Seeing Yi Qing Luo being brought away by them, he actually stood there watching with his eyes wide open. Trash was trash. She really didn't know why her elder sister had suffered losses in front of this useless woman time and time again. Do the people from the faculty council like to talk glibly? Yi Qing Luo's brows rose slightly as she glanced at them with a smile which didn't look like a smile. If you call me trash again, be careful that I'll slap you to death with one slap. Another female classmate was stunned by Yi Qing Luo's gaze, but the minute she thought that this was her chance to perform well, as long as she performed well, to make Lu Shuilan think highly of her, then she would be able to get a higher position. The female student immediately stood in front of Lu Shuilan. Don't you dare. With a pa sound, Yi Qing Luo directly threw a slap over. I even dare to hit your vice president, do you think I dare or not? Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a cold smile, as she rubbed her slightly burning palm. Waste? You can't even beat me, what should you be called? To stop a woman like Lu Shuilan, there was only one way to settle things once and for all. Chapter 314. Lu Shuilan's mocking smile froze on her face, she clenched her sleeves tightly and spat fiercely. So what if you're powerful, you're still a waste class student? After that, Lu Shuilan bit her lower lip and gave that female student another slap. Waste? Useless thing. Although Yi Qing Luo's slap didn't land on her face, it was no different from slapping her face. The female student felt wronged and suffered 2 consecutive slaps, but she didn't dare to make a sound. She could only cover her face resentfully and followed behind Lu Shuilan. Yi Qing Luo sneered and picked her ears. Finally it was quiet. The simple and crude method was the most effective. The private fight, as it involved the faculty council's vice president, was handed over to the elder quarters to handle. She followed Lu Shuilan and the female student all the way to the elder quarters. Along the way they met quite a number of students who greeted Lu Shuilan respectfully and looked at Yi Qing Luo strangely. One by one they were pointing and gossiping about Yi Qing Luo who had been quiet for half a month. What did she do that made the faculty council come looking for her? At this moment, standing on the tall building, a young man dressed in a black long robe squinted his cold eyes slightly, staring at the calm Yi Qing Luo below. Master, it's Miss Yi. A man dressed as an attendant bowed and said respectfully. Those 2 bottles of medicine, have you sent them over? The young man's indifferent eyes did not move away from Yi Qing Luo. The moment he opened his mouth, his voice was as cold as a frost. The attendant nodded. Yes, I personally passed it to her. Why didn't she take it? The young man's expressionless face frowned slightly, that pair of cold and indifferent eyes was suffused with a trace of anger. The attendant stiffened and lowered his head. I don't know, perhaps. Miss Ye's vigilance is strong. Before knowing who you are, she didn't dare to take the medicine. Don't know? The young man's eyes were as calm as still water, eerily cold, strong anger rolling in his eyes. Don't know, I'd like to see if she knows who I am. The attendant was forced to take a few steps back by that strong aura. This was the first time he saw his usually calm master revealing such an expression. Because of that girl named Yi Qing Luo. The gaze the follower gave Yi Qing Luo was filled with a deeper meaning. Find out why the faculty council took her away. The young man retracted his gaze and hid the anger in his eyes, returning to his original expressionless face. Elders Department. Yi Qing Luo was brought to the main hall and Lu Shuiyu was already seated on a soft chair by the side, drinking tea and discussing something with Elder Yun Xiang. On seeing Yi Qing Luo's arrival, the smiles on their faces froze as they stopped their conversation. How was this someone who had broken the rules of the academy and had to be punished with a demerit? It was like drinking tea and talking about life. Student Yi, sit. Elder Yun Xiang stroked his white beard, his eyes curved into crescents as he smiled. Yi Qing Luo walked straight to Lu Shuiyu's side and sat down as an attendant immediately served hot tea. Student Yi, I'm sure you're aware of the academy's rules. During the academy period, students are not allowed to fight in private. Elder Yunxiang's face was amiable as he spoke earnestly. The academy sensed that you had a fluctuation of profound qi in the dormitory earlier. Do you have anything to say to me? In a few words he pushed all the blame onto Yiqing Luo. Chapter 315. Yiqing Luo leaned lazily on the soft chair as she squinted her eyes at Lu Shuiyu. The corner of her mouth curled up into a faintly discernible cold arc as she chuckled. Just one look and Lu Shuiyu felt a chill down her spine. The hand which was holding the teacup trembled and almost spilled the tea. The smile on Yiqing Luo's lips was cold, but it didn't lose its charm. It revealed an eerie cold glint which made one shudder. Lu Shuiyu only felt that her neck seemed to be entangled by a cold poisonous snake and her tensed-up heart was almost suffocating. Such a strong aura was so majestic that Lu Shuiyu couldn't suppress it at all. This treacherous atmosphere was in a deadlock. Elder Yunxiang's words, "Don't tell me that I was bored alone in the dormitory and released my profound qi to hit myself?" Yiqing Luo's soft and leisurely voice rang out. Her vision seemed to have inadvertently swept past the curtains of the inner hall, and when she touched something, a sly smile flashed past her eyes. Elder Yunxiang's words were blocked. His face under his white beard darkened a little. He stood up and placed his hands behind his back as he walked slowly to Yiqing Luo. There was still a smile on his face and he had a kind and benevolent look on his face. However, the threatening look in his eyes was extremely strong. Student Yi is a smart person. This is only a small matter. If Student Yi cooperates with the Elder Quarters investigation, I will naturally give you a lighter sentence. Violating the Academy's rules is just a small matter in Elder Yunxiang's eyes? Yiqing Luo pretended to be astonished as she widened her eyes and couldn't help but raised her voice. A few days ago, Vice President kept saying that if one violates the Academy's rules, one should leave the Academy. Although this was the Elder Quarters and everyone was the Elder's man. But Yiqing Luo's shout would inevitably be heard by others. If this was spread out, the Elder Quarters' reputation would be tainted. Lu Shuiyu listened by the side as anger surfaced faintly on her cold face. Then she heard Yiqing Luo mention that the last time she found trouble with her, she insisted on violating the Academy's rules, and it was actually used by Yiqing Luo to slap her face. Her heart was filled with anger and annoyance, and when she thought of Yiqing Jian who had instigated her previously, she hated her even more. Since I'm here at the Elders' quarters today, there are some things that I should talk to the Elders about. Yiqing Luo stood up abruptly, her petite figure but her aura wasn't small at all. This stance made Elder Yunxiang, who was originally standing in front of Yiqing Luo to threaten her, take a few steps back. He saw Yiqing Luo raising her head up high as she spoke in a serious manner. Vice President, as a member of the Faculty Council, knowingly broke the law and even laid hands on her dormitory roommate. If it wasn't for the fact that I took the risk of being recorded as a demerit and blocked for my roommate, I'm afraid today the Academy would not only have broken the Academy's rules, but a life would have been lost. You're talking nonsense. Lu Shuiyu couldn't take it anymore. She slammed the table and stood up. I'm spouting nonsense? Isn't it all about evidence? Material evidence is something that can sense your xianxia. It can sense the fluctuation of your xianxia. As for the witness, it's that roommate who was almost seriously injured by you. Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders and said word by word, I used my profound qi, I admit it. But it wasn't a private brawl. She paused for a moment and her leisurely voice had a hint of a smile. If I had a brawl, I'm afraid Vice President wouldn't be able to sit here anymore. Provocation. This was simply a naked provocation. Lu Shuiyu's face was burning hot as the anger in her chest surged to her head, feeling that her lungs were about to explode. Chapter 316. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. Why? Do you want to make a move in front of Elder Yunxiang? Just as she finished her words, Lu Shuiyu's raised hand was locked by Elder Yunxiang. Vice President. Elder Yunxiang used a little strength and pressed Lu Shuiyu back to the chair. Students should get along peacefully. At this moment, if Elder Yunxiang wanted to help Lu Shuiyu to clear her name, it would be impossible. Yiqing Luo had this idea. From the previous allocation of classes, Yiqing Luo could tell that Elder Yunxiang should be standing on the Faculty Council's side. She was allocated to the Devil class and it was definitely related to Elder Yunxiang. This time, Elder Yunxiang still wanted to use this to threaten her to take on this matter alone. If it was other students, they might have succumbed under the prestige of the Elder and Faculty Council. But Yiqing Luo was not others. She didn't put Lu Shuiyu in her eyes at all. Yiqing Luo had deduced that the most serious consequence of this matter was to record a demerit. But to Lu Shuiyu, it wasn't just a demerit issue. Tomorrow's Heavenly Training Forest actual combat training was the time for her to showcase her skills as the Faculty Council's vice president. If the Faculty Council could get the top 3, it would definitely raise the Faculty Council's prestige. Once Lu Shuiyu was recorded, she would not be able to participate in the actual combat training tomorrow. She would also lose the chance to bring glory to Simu Yan. If it was serious, it might even cause Simu Yan's disgust and be demoted. Such a good opportunity, how could Yiqing Luo give it up? Trying to clear Lu Shuiyu's name? Heng Yiqing Luo deliberately provoked Lu Shuiyu to lose control in front of Elder Yun Xiang and unleashed her profound qi in an attempt to make a move on her. Even if Lu Shuiyu's palm strike was stopped by Elder Yun Xiang, it was absolutely impossible to draw a clear line between them. Student Yi. After Elder Yun Xiang appeased Lu Shuiyu, he turned his head and looked at Yiqing Luo. Between his brows, there was a layer of faint hostility. You'd better think carefully. If the announcement is made, it will be a demerit and your status in the academy will be ruined. Yiqing Luo heard the threat in Elder Yun Xiang's words, but she didn't take it to heart. When the elder arranged me into the devil class, didn't he already decide to destroy me? Yiqing Luo sneered lightly as she raised her eyes in ridicule, looking straight at Elder Yun Xiang's threatening gaze. Elder Yun Xiang's face darkened and he squinted his sinister eyes. I do not have the right to assign classes. If Student Yi has any questions about the assignment, you can look for the dean. Moreover, the assignment of classes and this matter are two different things. Yiqing Luo covered her mouth as she laughed softly. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw that the figure was still there behind the curtain of the inner hall. The smile in his eyes deepened. Elder Yun Xiang is too biased. Elder Yun Xiang snorted coldly. All in all, it's my duty as a student. I've already told you everything that needs to be said. If Elder Yun Xiang insists on making me the scapegoat, I advise you to give up on this idea. Yiqing Luo finished her words and stood up, preparing to leave. Elder Yun Xiang shouted angrily, "Who allowed you to leave? A student who has violated the academy's regulations and still wants to go against your superiors? Do you really think the elder quarters exists in name only?" Four attendants scurried into the hall and blocked Yiqing Luo. "Let her leave." Suddenly, a dignified voice was heard from the inner hall. The inner hall's curtain was lifted by a hand and an elderly man dressed in the elder's attire was seen strolling in. Chapter 317. When Elder Yun Xiang saw the old man, he was terrified. He lowered his head and cupped his fists. Great Elder. Great Elder? Yiqing Luo had seen in the booklet that there were a total of 15 elders in the elder quarters. However, there were only 7 who held power in the academy. Elder Yun Xiang was ranked second. Great Elder Yun Duan was not here, so Yun Xiang was the leader. As for the other elders, they either went to the other super monasteries to help out or to travel around to promote the academy. As for this first elder, he was one of the more mysterious ones among the elders. Yiqing Luo initially sensed that there was someone behind the curtain, but she didn't expect that it would be Elder Yun Duan behind the curtain. At this point, I have already investigated clearly. Student Yi did not do anything wrong. Elder Yun Duan's line of sight shifted from Yiqing Luo to Lu Shuiyu. Everything that happened just now, I saw it clearly from behind the curtains. Lu Shuiyu's complexion turned pale as she knelt in front of Elder Yun Duan. She had been in the academy for 5 years, so she knew Yun Duan's identity. Even if it was Yun Xiang in front of the great elder, he had to show some respect. If Elder Yun Duan had been behind the curtains all along, then, earlier when she was infuriated and tried to hit Yiqing Luo but was stopped by Yun Xiang, he had seen everything clearly? To the extent that Elder Yun Xiang's threat towards Yiqing Luo was heard clearly? The more she thought about it, the more Lu Shuiyu broke out in cold sweat. In the academy she had always been at the top, surrounded by the stars. Other than her own methods and abilities, it was also because of her identity as the vice president and Yun Xiang's support. But, she didn't understand Elder Yun Duan, and from the looks of it, Yun Duan was standing on Yiqing Luo's side. As the vice president of the faculty council, you knowingly broke the law and even colluded with the elder council in an attempt to cover up your mistakes and push the blame onto innocent students. You are a disgrace to the academy. Elder Yun Duan coldly snorted, his gaze full of dignity. From now on, student Lu Shuiyu will temporarily stop all of her duties as vice president, and student Lu Shuilan will take over. Student Lu Shuiyu will be given a major demerit, and the entire academy will announce this as a warning to others. When Lu Shuiyu received the news that she would be suspended from her position as vice president, she froze on the ground with her eyes wide open. She was usually cold and aloof, but now she looked battered and exhausted. To Lu Shuiyu, recording a demerit or reporting it to the police was not important. Most importantly, she was suspended from her duties. She did not have the right to step into the faculty council, which meant that she could not see Si Yenmu. Great Elder. Great Elder, I know I'm wrong. I'm willing to record demerits, no matter how many demerits I have, as long as you don't suspend me from my duties. Even if I'm not the vice president, I can still be a small member of the faculty council. Yun Duan's face was cold as he glanced at Lu Shuiyu on the ground. He didn't have the slightest bit of tenderness for the fairer sex. Men, take Lu Shuiyu away and make an announcement to the entire academy. Before Lu Shuiyu could resist, several attendants had already dragged Lu Shuiyu out of the elder quarters. Then Yun Duan glanced at Yun Xiang coldly. Yun Xiang's body stiffened. He lowered his head and did not dare to make a sound. He had covered up for Lu Shuiyu and threatened a student. Even if he was caught red-handed by the first elder, there was nothing he could say. However, while Yun Xiang was on tenterhooks, Yun Duan did not continue to announce his punishment, but looked towards Yiqing Luo. Student Yi, this matter is due to the negligence of the elder quarters, and almost caused Student Yi to be wronged. I represent the elder quarters to apologize to Student Yi. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes flashed a glimmer of light, her pink lips slightly hooked up. With such a fair and strict elder like the first elder, I can rest assured. Chapter 318. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly as she heard the cautiousness in Yun Duan's tone. Was Yun Duan asking for her opinion? It should be impossible. Yiqing Luo threw this thought to the back of her head and nodded slightly. I will listen to the great elder's arrangements. Yun Duan stroked his white beard and glanced sideways at Yun Xiang, who was standing stiffly at the side with a hint of displeasure in his eyes. Student Yi, you must be frightened. Go back and rest first, the elder quarters will take action to apologize to you another day. Yiqing Luo was a tactful person. As the great elder of the elder quarters, Yun Duan would naturally not use his own people as an example. And Lu Shuiyu had become the tool that Yun Duan used to block the knife for Yun Xiang. Yun Duan punished Lu Shuiyu and asked if Yiqing Luo was satisfied. This was a chance for Yiqing Luo to step down. Yiqing Luo was not one to take advantage of others, so she bowed slightly to Yun Duan and immediately left the hall. As soon as she stepped out of the hall, her ears twitched and she heard Yun Duan's voice. Don't just stand there and reflect on your actions. You'll stay in Yunxiang courtyard for the next few days and reflect on your mistakes. You'll be able to give Student Yi an explanation. Great Elder. She's just a freshman. You. She is indeed just a freshman. Yun Duan interrupted Yun Xiang's words, but you cannot afford to offend this freshman. Stay away from her and don't involve the elder quarters. If it happens again, even I will not be able to protect you. I have investigated her background. Other than knowing the overlord, there is nothing special. Yun Xiang could hear the seriousness in Yun Duan's tone and his tone became dignified. What's more, this freshman is someone that the higher-ups are keeping a close eye on. Before he could finish his words, he was stopped by Yun Duan. Yiqing Luo could not stop her footsteps as she was surrounded by attendants. As she gradually left the elder quarters, no matter how sensitive her ears were, Yun Duan's voice became softer and softer. She could vaguely hear a few words. Other than the overlord, she has another backing. After that, she could not hear anything else. Yiqing Luo caught hold of a crucial name. She vaguely heard the overlord and Master Chu. Young Master Chu? Yiqing Luo subconsciously thought of the attendant who came to deliver the pills that day. The person he mentioned was also Master Zhu. Could it be that the reason why Yun Duan appeared, stood on her side unconditionally and punished Lu Shuiyu without a second word, was because of that young Master Chu? Young Master Zhu? Who could it be? Yiqing Luo was extremely puzzled. She dug out all the memories in her mind but still couldn't find any man with the surname Chu. When he returned to the dormitory, Lu Xiaoyu was anxiously pacing back and forth in the hall. On seeing Yiqing Luo's return, he immediately pounced forward and hugged her. You're finally back. I heard that you were brought to the elders' quarters by the faculty council and I anxiously went to look for Master Guiyu. But after searching for so many places, I still couldn't find Master Guiyu. I was so anxious. Yiqing Luo patted Lu Xiaoyu's back gently and comforted her with a few words. Then he explained the appearance of Cloudy Cloud as well as Cloudy Cloud's punishment for Lu Shuiyu. As Lu Xiaoyu listened, her eyes widened and her mouth opened wide in disbelief. You're saying that Lu Shuiyu has been stripped of her position as vice president? Seeing Yiqing Luo nodding, Lu Xiaoyu couldn't help but laugh out loud. Haha, let's see if she still has the capital to be arrogant in the future. Wasn't Lu Shuiyu arrogant because of her position as vice president? Chapter 319. Yiqing Luo smiled and reached out to rub Lu Xiaoyu's head. Don't put your mind on her for the time being. Train and learn well. Tomorrow is the actual combat training for the high profound class. It should be your intermediate profound class's turn in another half a month. Strive to achieve a good result by then. The two of them chatted for a while and Yiqing Luo returned to her room, ready to have a good rest and conserve her energy. Yun Duan only punished Lu Shuiyu and she got out unscathed. She would be able to participate in the actual combat training tomorrow. Stretching her waist as she walked into the room, the sandalwood scent made Yiqing Luo's body stiffen. She immediately closed the door. The uniform that she had changed out of was washed clean once again and hung on the wooden rack. And on her bed, lay a tall man in purple. Sleeping Beauty. These three words popped out in Yiqing Luo's mind as her eyes overflowed with a sweet smile. Dmo Xian's eyes were closed as if he was in deep sleep. He didn't even notice Yiqing Luo's approach. In his deep sleep, his thick eyelashes cast a beautiful arc under his eyelids, making that peerless face look extremely gentle, making one couldn't help but want to get close to him. In fact, Yiqing Luo really followed her heart's desire and did so. She quietly lay on the side of the bed, staring at Dmo Xian's sleeping face, stretched out her slender fingers and drew his outline in the air. A man with an outstanding appearance, no matter when, would always have a different kind of charm. Just like the current Dmo Xian, who was obviously in deep sleep. But there was a charm that made her heart beat faster and wanted to get close to him. Was he too tired? After washing her clothes, he fell asleep on the bed. Yiqing Luo's fingers gently touched his face. Her gaze swept across the wrinkles between his brows, across his tall nose, and finally stopped on his pale lips. As if she was bewitched, Yiqing Luo's body slowly leaned forward and pressed her lips on Dmo Xian's lips. The man's elegant sandalwood scent drowned her in an instant. Little Luo, or actually sneak attacked. A low laugh overflowed from the lips of the two. Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to hurriedly get up, Dmo Xian's long arm had already wrapped around her waist and with a little force, Yiqing Luo fell into his arms. I didn't expect you to be this kind of little Luo, Dmo Xian's long and narrow peach blossom eyes narrowed into a demonic arc as he flipped over and pinned Yiqing Luo beneath him. His hair scattered softly on Yiqing Luo's face. The feeling of being caught red-handed after doing something bad made Yiqing Luo's cheeks flush red. She struggled to avoid Dmo Xian's hand, unwilling to look at his face. Her flat abdomen was attached to a wide and thick palm. Dmo Xian's body was even more attached to Yiqing Luo. You dare to do it but don't dare to admit it. Dmo Xian caught hold of her hand that was pushing him away, as his scorching breath blew onto her ear. You did it on purpose. How could there be such a coincidence? She had just stolen a kiss and Dmo Xian woke up? Dmo Xian laughed lowly and that laughter was extremely bewitching. Like a feather, tickling Yiqing Luo's heart bit by bit. Alright. I did steal a kiss from you, I dare to admit it. Yiqing Luo couldn't take it anymore as she pulled the man's hand. Now can you let go of me? This man simply couldn't be any more tempting. That peerless face was exactly the type that she liked. The extremely bewitching voice whispered beside her ear and her mind was already in turmoil, unable to control herself. If this carried on, sooner or later she would be eaten up by Dmo Xian's handsome man-trap. Chapter 320. Evildoer. Yiqing Luo harumphed in annoyance as she patted the hand on her waist. Dmo Xian's laughter grew louder as his chest pressed against her back. Yiqing Luo could feel the man's chest vibrating from his laughter. Still laughing. Yiqing Luo bit her lips as her elbow knocked backwards. She had just moved when Dmo Xian stretched out his hand and grabbed her slender wrist. Yiqing Luo struggled but was unable to shake him off so she could only let him grab her. Why are you here? Recently Dmo Xian had been running to the academy a little too frequently. Could it be that the imperial palace didn't need him to handle the affairs? If I don't come, Lil Luo, will run away with someone else. Dmo Xian tightened his arms as his tone was obviously filled with displeasure. Looks like there are too many people who admire Lil Luo, Dmo Xian lowered his head as his lips pressed onto Yiqing Luo's fair neck. That Mr. Zhu. His words had just ended when his lips opened and bit onto Yiqing Luo's neck. Yes. Yiqing Luo cried out in pain, I don't even know him, why did you bite me for? You don't know him, but he will send you medicine and settle the matter with the elder quarters? Diamo Xian loosened his mouth as his warm breath sprayed onto the place where she was bitten. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips as she endured the shivering feeling and turned her head over angrily as she stared at Diamo Xian. How would I know? She stretched out her hand as she pinched Diamo Xian's cheek and pinched it fiercely. You have so little confidence in yourself that you don't trust me? Diamo Xian didn't say a word as his large palm covered her head and pressed her into his arms as his arms wrapped around her tightly. Yiqing Luo's entire face was plastered onto his chest. The more she struggled, the tighter the man hugged. Yiqing Luo simply stopped her actions as she buried her head in his arms, listening to his heartbeat. After some time, the man's deep voice floated down from above her head. It's not that I don't trust you, just angry. Why isn't the person who did all these for you me? Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly softened. A sweet feeling started to spread in her heart. Her lips, which were buried in Diamo Xian's arms, curled into an elegant arc. She stretched out her hand and wrapped it around Diamo Xian's waist. You're the one accompanying me now. That's enough. Yiqing Luo rubbed her face against his chest in satisfaction. The sandalwood scent on his body made her feel at ease. Diamo Xian cupped her face and gently kissed her forehead before pulling her into his embrace once again. Go to sleep. Do your best for tomorrow's actual combat training. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to fall asleep, she could vaguely feel the man's palm gently caressing her face. The man's faint sigh resounded in her ears. I still can't accept it. When he woke up again, it was already the second day of the freshman training. She left Chi-Chi at Long Yunzhan's side. Without a professional alarm clock like Chi-Chi, she actually slept for such a long time. Just then Lu Xiaoyu came to wake her up. After Yiqing Luo washed up quickly, the two of them walked together to the freshman training grounds. By the time the training for the freshmen was completed, the instructors called for them to disperse and Yiqing Luo then rushed towards the devil class without stopping. High-profound class students entered the training forest early in the morning after the elder opened the entrance. The students from the devil class should have already sneaked in. When Yiqing Luo rushed to the devil class, Baiming Lulu was waiting for her in the classroom. Chapter 321. In the past, actual combat training in devil class, it had always been based on individual ability. In other words, all the students who entered the training forest would become their own opponents. Xiao Jin would give each student a wooden token, similar to the academy's wooden token, which could record the changes of the student's points. On the wooden token there would be 30 points as the basic points. Killing the magical beasts in the training forest would be able to gain 1 point. The final outcome was to choose the top 3 outstanding students based on the number of points accumulated. And this actual combat training, the cruelest point was they could snatch the opponent's wooden token. Once the snatch was successful, all the opponent's points would be accumulated into the hands of the person who snatched it successfully. But the person whose wooden token was snatched could snatch the other person's wooden token within 1 hour. If it exceeded 1 hour, they would be forcibly chased out of the training forest. And this time round, Xiao Jin and the rest used Yiqing Luo's method. All the students were split into groups of 3, each holding a wooden token. Yiqing Luo listened and nodded her head in interest. 3 people guarding 1 wooden token, snatching another wooden token. This is indeed a good training method. To win, one person's hard work was probably not enough. They had to coordinate well and work hard together, to be able to guard their own token and snatch the opponent's token. Tong Ziqing and Enai Ruapan are in the same group. Their expressions seemed a little strange and I'm worried that they would create a ruckus, so I let Xiao Yi be in the same group as them just in case. Beiming Lulu added. Yiqing Luo nodded. Based on Tong Ziqing's character, it would indeed be better with Yan Xiaoyi around. The two of them took a long detour, until they reached the rear mountain of the heavenly training forest. Beiming Lulu felt around a certain mountain wall for some time and the ground started to vibrate. The mountain wall in front of them was split into 2, revealing a long secret passage. This is the passage to the training forest, but usually it is sealed by the enchantment. We can only enter after the elder opens the entrance. Beiming Lulu took the lead and walked into the secret passage. Yiqing Luo followed closely behind. She was thinking that after the elder opened the entrance to the training forest, the high profound classes masters and elders would be guarding the entrance. Then how should they sneak into the training forest? She had not expected that there was such a secret passage at the rear mountain of the training forest. I just finished the instructor's freshman training, so I'm late. Are there any groups? As for the heavenly training forest, Yiqing Luo was eager to give it a try. Biming Lulu spread out her hand and took out a wooden token and handed it over. The class monitor said that you each have a wooden token. Yiqing Luo received the wooden token and looked at the 30 points displayed above. The corners of her mouth twitched. Not only did he not return her chi-chi, he even wanted her to fight a 1v3? Did Long Yunzhan believe in her strength too much, or was he purposely messing with her? That's right, Master Guiyu also took the wooden token and entered the training forest, saying that he wanted to nurture his relationship with the students. Beiming Lulu didn't feel the turbulent waves in Yiqing Luo's heart as she continued. Teacher Guiyu? Was there a need to go so far? Old man Guiyu was also participating in this training. Who could beat him? Even Yiqing Luo had a messy feeling, not to mention how the other students' inner hearts were galloping in all sorts of ways. The other students are moving in groups. Only you and Teacher Guiyu are moving alone. We heard that the High Profound class will be challenging the High Profound zone, so this time, our zone will be the Middle Profound zone. Chapter 322. As the two spoke, they had already entered the Middle Profound area of the training forest. Although it was called a training forest, it was indeed a forest. As far as the eye could see, it was densely packed with lush green trees. This kind of environment was the most suitable for fighting in the wild. There were dense trees everywhere, perfect for hiding and ambushing. It wasn't just a test of one's strength, but also one's reaction and intelligence. The students went in early in the morning. The one with the highest score has already reached 54 points. Biming Lulu analyzed the current situation. You're late by 2 hours and have fallen behind them. You have to catch up as much as possible. Yiqing Luo nodded thoughtfully. 54. It wasn't too high. No group of students had been eliminated yet. Calculating the time, it was about time for the students to snatch the wooden tokens of the other groups. As long as one group made the first move, the other groups would probably wait for an opportunity to make their move. They all know that you and Teacher Guiyu are acting alone. They don't have the ability to deal with Teacher Guiyu, but they will target you. I know, I will take note. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she walked deeper into the forest. The Middle Profound region's overall strength was roughly around the Mystic Profound 7th grade. The magical beasts wandering around were all mid-level magical beasts, with a small number of high-level magical beasts mixed in. However, no matter what level the magical beast was, killing one would only accumulate 1 point. Because of this, in order to save trouble, the students basically searched for mid-level magical beasts to kill. Along the way there were many mid-level magical beast corpses on the ground. Less than 50 meters into the depths, he saw a small person curled up under a lush tree. She sat against the tree, hugging her knees and burying her head between them. Her slender body trembled from time to time as if she was sobbing. Yiqing Luo frowned and walked over quickly. "Anai Ruapan, why are you here?" Hearing Yiqing Luo's voice, Anai Ruapan immediately raised her head as she opened her misty teary eyes and spoke with a sobbing tone. "Madam Qing Luo." Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings. "Where's Tong Ziqing?" I don't want to be in the same group as her, I want to be in the same group as Madam Qing Luo." Anai Ruapan pursed her lips as she raised her hand to wipe her tears fiercely. "Madam Qing Luo, you're also in a team alone, can I join your team?" Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter as she stared at Anai Ruapan's skinny little face, as a chilly intent appeared in her eyes. "I thought you already wanted to improve, but I didn't expect you to treat yourself as a weakling deep down in your bones." Yiqing Luo shook off Anai Ruapan's hand which was grabbing her. Her exquisite face was covered with a layer of frost. She purposely arranged Anai Rupan and Tong Ziqing to be in the same group because she wanted to familiarize themselves with their characters. One was as petty as dust, while the other thought too highly of himself. If these two extreme people could work together, they would definitely be able to change these shortcomings. However, Anai Rupan was the first to give up. I didn't, Madam Qing Luo, it's not that I don't want to become stronger, but Sister Ziqing feels that I'm a hindrance. Anai Ruapan's eyelashes which were wet with tears drooped down as she explained in a submissive manner. She bit her lower lip, trying hard to stop her tears from flowing. "I know that with my strength, it's very difficult in the Middle Profound zone. I tried my best to cooperate with Big Sister Ziqing, but these are not excuses." Yiqing Luo's voice was chilly as she crossed her arms and spoke calmly. "I never keep weaklings by my side." Chapter 323. She had done everything she could to help Ni Rupan. It was up to Ni Rupan to overcome her inner cowardice and inferiority complex. Madame Qing Luo? Ni Ruopan's hand which was flung away froze in midair as he stared blankly at Yi Qing Luo. But when she met Yi Qing Luo's icy cold gaze, she seemed to have been hit by a stick as she violently shook her head. Madame Qing Luo, I'm not a weakling. I will also become strong enough to stand by your side. Yi Qing Luo had once said that I'm born with a talent, I'm bound to be useful. He had said that he had proven his ability by passing the Heavenly Academy's entrance examination. She was definitely not trash. She wanted to be as confident as Yi Qing Luo, so that one day she would have enough qualifications to become Yi Qing Luo's left and right arm. Ni Ruopan's eyes lit up with a resolute expression as she lifted her sleeve to wipe the tears off her face. I'll go back to look for Sister Ziqing now. For Madame Qing Luo, I will definitely work hard. Not for me but for yourself. Yi Qing Luo shook her head slowly. Ni Rupan stared at her and smiled through her tears. After that, she turned around and ran towards the dense forest ahead. Yi Qing Luo stared at her back as she sighed helplessly. Just as he was about to start walking in another direction, just as he turned to the side, a fierce whirlwind assaulted him. The shadows of the trees were mottled, making an ear-piercing rustling sound. Yi Qing Luo reacted in time and with a light tap of her toes, she swiftly retreated backwards. The dense trees in front of him swayed, and the light that blocked the sunlight flickered. Bang! A loud sound reverberated as that whirlwind blasted onto the place where Yi Qing Luo was standing earlier, exploding out a black hole. Madame Qing Luo. Hearing the noise, Ni Ruopan turned around and saw that Yi Qing Luo had been ambushed. The shadows of the trees swayed and three figures appeared in front of Yi Qing Luo. Student Yi. A smile hung on Dan Baishi's face. I've always remembered the battle with you when we first entered the academy. Today is a rare opportunity. Why don't we use the wooden token as a wager and have a match? These three people, weren't they three of the 8 people who ambushed Yi Qing Luo in the outer courtyard when she just joined the devil class? Dan Baishi seemed to have been knocked unconscious by her that day. Was he here to seek revenge? Yi Qing Luo's eyes rose slightly as she laughed lightly. How do you want to compete? Last time you alone defeated the 8 of us. Dan Baishi removed the wooden token from her waist, as she displayed the numbers on it to Yi Qing Luo, 42 points. This point was not the best at the moment, but it was not too far behind either. Now we have 42 points and we're betting 30 points on you. Dan Baishi pointed to the 2 male students behind her. If student Yi alone defeats the 3 of us, it will be your win. You guys are robbers. Ni Ruopan's expression changed drastically as he opened up his arms and stood in front of Yi Qing Luo. 3 against 1 and you still act so righteous. Dan Baishi sneered and swept a disdainful glance at Ni Ruopan. Yo, isn't this the little trash that was abandoned by Big Sister Ziqing? You can help if you want, but are you sure you're helping or dragging her down? I'm not trash. Ni Ruopan bit her lower lip tightly as that skinny little face shot out a resolute conviction. You're the trash. You obviously know that you can't defeat Madame Qing Luo alone, so you want to join forces with the 3 of us to snatch Madame Qing Luo's wooden token. Chapter 324. You all? Student Dan is right, this is the rule and it's reasonable and reasonable. Yi Qing Luo stretched out her hand and pushed Ni Ruopan aside as she slowly walked towards Dan Baishi. Her charming eyes curved into a long and narrow arc, and her sweet voice lowered a few notches. Since student Dan wants to bet, I will naturally accept this bet. This smile was extremely alluring. But Dan Baishi shuddered as her back started to feel chilly. She forced herself to hang on as she maintained a calm expression on her face. Just as she was about to shout for the 2 people behind her to attack Yi Qing Luo, that greenish-white figure suddenly disappeared in front of her eyes, as though she had blended into the air. Dan Baishi's expression changed abruptly as she gave a low cry and speedily turned around as she drew out the long sword on her waist. Pay attention. Watch her closely. Her words had just ended when she heard a student giving a dull moan as his tall and mighty figure instantly flew out. He rolled several rounds on the ground and crashed against a thick tree trunk as he stopped. That huge tree which required 2 people to hug was swayed from the impact as leaves started to fall. That was enough to show the might of this collision. That male student's face turned pale as he groaned in pain and fainted not too long later. At the place where the male student was standing earlier, that slender and enchanting lady had a pair of sparkling eyes as she gave a flirtatious smile. Even though they were both wearing the same green and white uniform, she looked like a budding lotus on her body. Pure and elegant, making one not dare to look at her directly. Dan Baishi and the other male students' eyes widened as they were filled with astonishment. If it was said that day when Yiqing Luo fell into devil class, the 8 of them were defeated by Yiqing Luo, they could find an excuse to say that it was because they had belittled Yiqing Luo and weren't prepared. But now, they didn't even know when Yiqing Luo made her move or how she did it. The person who flew out was them. Dan Baishi's petite little face turned extremely pale as she retreated a few steps. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she crooked her finger at Dan Baishi. Come, it's your turn now. Dan Baishi bit her lower lip fiercely as her pair of beautiful eyes stared at Yiqing Luo in terror as she clenched her fists tightly. After a while, she tapped the ground with the tip of her foot and quickly retreated into the forest at the side. As for the male student who was left behind, when he saw Dan Baishi leave alone with the wooden token, his brows furrowed. He clenched his fists tightly as he stared at Yiqing Luo for some time before gritting his teeth. As long as there's one survivor in our team, he represents our entire team. Kill or torture, it's up to you. You do have some backbone. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly. The feeling of being abandoned by your own companions isn't very good, right? The male student's upright face was slightly pale. The reason why this combat training has been changed to a team competition is to cultivate your sense of teamwork. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up in ridicule as her charming eyes were filled with cold ridicule. I'll temporarily let you return to student Dan's side, let me see your team awareness. After Yiqing Luo finished her words, she walked towards that fainted male student. She stretched out her hand to feel the male student's forehead as she skillfully took his pulse, while saying, also pass a message to student Dan, I will remember this bet and if we meet again later, I will not show any mercy. Yiqing Luo took out a medicine bottle from the profound phoenix ring as she poured out a medicinal pill which was used to nurture internal injuries and stuffed it into the male student's mouth. This companion of yours will be fine. Later when Lulu comes on patrol, she will bring him back for treatment. That male student's expression stiffened slightly as he looked at his companion who had taken the medicinal pill. His face regained some color. Chapter 325. Madame Qing Luo. Madame Qing Luo. Enai Ruopan hurriedly chased up to Yiqing Luo's footsteps. The way she looked at Yiqing Luo was filled with worship as her eyes shone brightly. Sir Qing Luo was simply too handsome. She was simply the goddess in her heart. She was even more determined to follow Madame Qing Luo's footsteps till death. Yiqing Luo's footsteps didn't stop as she heard the young lady shouting her name at the top of her lungs. Hearing someone chasing after him and calling him "Milord," he felt a little uncomfortable. For the rest of the journey it was quiet. They didn't see any other students. It was so quiet that it was as if she and Enai Rupan were the only ones left in the middle profound zone. Occasionally, 1 or 2 mid-level battle-type magical beasts would appear. Looking at Enai Ruopan who had been following her with a cautious look, Yiqing Luo let her deal with the intermediate-level magical beast alone. Enai Rupan did not refute the goddess's words. No matter how afraid he was in his heart, he still braced himself, released his profound energy, and charged toward the mid-level magical beast. Enai Rupan's physical quality was rather poor, hence it was indeed a little strenuous for her to face these mid-level magical beasts. In particular, Enai Ruopan's actual combat training was too little. There were several times when she was almost scratched by the mid-grade magical beasts. Fortunately, Yiqing Luo reminded her to avoid them in time. Yiqing Luo had no intention to go up and help, but at the most crucial moment she would remind Enai Ruopan where to attack, how to avoid it, and how to calculate the magical beast's movements and frequency. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, no matter how bad Enai Rupan's aptitude was, she understood how to use her advantage to defeat the demonic beasts. Enai Rupan cried out in joy after she exhausted her strength to kill another demonic beast. She did it. You really did it. She killed a mid-level magical beast. In the past, Enai Rupan never thought that she could defeat a demonic beast with her poor aptitude. Even low-level magical beasts couldn't do it, let alone mid-level magical beasts. Enai Ruopan skipped as she dashed towards Yiqing Luo, so excited that her eyes were brimming with tears. Madame Qing Luo, I've done it. I really did it. Emin? Yiqing Luo's lips curled. I saw it, it's not bad. It was a simple sentence, but Enai Ruopan was so excited that she cried tears of joy. She wiped her tears and couldn't stop giggling. The goddess had praised her. The goddess' acknowledgement was more effective than any words. In his mind, he suddenly heard the goddess's cold and firm voice saying, "Everyone has their own dignity. Before they give up on themselves, no one can say that they are trash." After that, the two of them went deeper into the forest. When they met with magical beasts, Yiqing Luo let Enai Ruo take over. She killed one demonic beast after another, and about 5 demonic beasts died in her hands. Enai Ruo Pan gradually became more proficient from her original timid self. Kicking and punching, his movements were smooth and seamless. Time passed by one breath at a time. Soon the sky gradually darkened. Enai Rupan was exhausted, but she still wanted to continue. Enai Rupan's body was covered in the blood of the demonic beasts, and her nostrils were filled with the smell of blood, but she did not notice it at all. It was until they killed another middle-grade magical beast, Enai Ruo Pan's brows were filled with smiles. "Madam Qing Luo, how many points have you accumulated for your wooden token?" She had killed so many magical beasts that she should have at least a dozen points. Chapter 326. You're a member of Tong Ziqing's team, so the points from killing the magical beasts naturally belong to your team members. Yiqing Luo brushed away the wooden token on her waist as she replied disapprovingly. Then why did you ask me to kill the magical beast? You should be the one to do it." Enai Rupan bit her lower lip and looked like she wanted to cry but had no tears. She had put in so much effort just to earn more points for her goddess. Who would have thought that it would actually benefit Tong Ziqing? "Don't feel resentful. That's your team. It's your team." Yiqing Luo played it down as she continued to walk forward. "Your motive for participating in the actual combat training is to help your team accumulate points." Enai Ruo Pan pursed her lips as she silently followed behind Yiqing Luo. At this time, the sky had already turned completely dark. The dense trees around them looked like witches with their hands wide open, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, trying to swallow people into their stomachs. Do you know when the entrance to the training forest closes? For the entire day, apart from Dan Baishi and the others, she and Enai Rupan did not see anyone else. He wondered how the other students were faring. Enai Ruo Pan raised her head and looked at the sky that was covered by the lush foliage. It was so dark that not a single ray of light could be seen. Vice Class Monitor said that we must report to the secret passage before the night. What time of the day? Yiqing Luo calculated that there were still about 2 hours left. Let's go. Yiqing Luo opened her arms and stretched her muscles. Enai Rupan was confused. Where are we going? Yiqing Luo twisted her neck and said lightly, looking for students, snatching points. Enai Rupan blinked and returned to her senses after a while. Yiqing Luo had already walked far away and she hurriedly jogged up to her. "Madam Qing Luo, are you going to snatch other students' wooden tokens? If they didn't snatch it now, when would they?" These students had been working hard for an entire day, and at this time, they were exhausted. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a crafty arc. The most important thing now was to find the other students. Enai Ruo Pan went into a daze for some time before she understood Yiqing Luo's meaning from the deep smile on her lips. "Madam Qing Luo, you're so treacherous." His words had just ended when his body was suddenly pulled by Yiqing Luo and he stood behind 2 huge trees. Ouch! Enai Rupan's body was slammed against the tree trunk, and her face was covered by the surrounding leaves. "Qing." Before he could say anything, Yiqing Luo growled, "Shut up." Yiqing Luo's expression was grave as she squinted her eyes and looked ahead through the tree branches. Not far away there was a hubbub of noise. More than 10 students dressed in green and white uniforms surrounded a person who had fallen to the ground. He could vaguely hear the coarse curses of a few people. What is this thing? It actually ran into the training forest? He's neither a human nor a beast. The training forest is basically sealed off. It's only opened when the classes have actual combat training. How could something else have gotten in? While those people were discussing, they heard another person shout, "Make way, the acting vice president is here, everyone make way." The students surrounding him immediately moved aside to make a path for him. Through the luminous pearls in the students' hands, Yiqing Luo saw that person's face on the ground. It was an unfamiliar face and he was not a student of the devil class. That was a petite young lady curled up on the ground. The young lady's attire was extremely strange. It was a black furry long robe wrapping around her petite body. That exquisite little face was as pale as a piece of paper. Chapter 327. The students in front of her were all from the high profound class. No wonder she hadn't seen any devil class students. Unknowingly she had barged into the high profound class. Fortunately, she didn't bump into any high profound class students along the way. Otherwise, if the high profound class knew that she had entered the training forest, it would implicate the devil class. And Ruopan also noticed the figure in front of her and froze on the spot, not daring to move. On the other side, following the respectful greetings of the students, Lu Xuelan slowly walked in front of the young girl, surrounded by the stars and the moon. A little girl? Lu Xuelan squinted her beautiful eyes as she lifted her leg and gave the young lady a kick. Where did you come from? The young lady opened her clear eyes and shrank back as she shook her head. Bring her out and hand her over to the elder quarters. Lu Xuelan rolled her eyes in disdain, as arrogant as a rooster. Don't bother me with such a small matter, I'm very busy. Yes, Vice President is appointed today and has so many things on hand. For the glory of the high profound class, you took time out of your busy schedule to participate in the actual combat training. It's just a stranger, just hand her over to the elder. A female student beside her smiled flatteringly as she kept on bootlicking. Such a responsible vice president like Vice President, I think it won't be long before you can officially take up the post. Lu Xuelan had a complacent look as she laughed and walked past the young lady. Lu Xueyu was punished and Lu Xuelan took over. These two sisters looked very close on the surface, but she didn't expect that. They were scheming against each other for the sake of status. Madame Qingluo, that person looks so pitiful. And Ruopan said in a low voice. Yi Qingluo's eyes flickered slightly. That young lady was covered in injuries, and if she didn't take the time to treat her, she might not even be able to keep her life. She wondered what kind of cruel methods these high profound class students had used on a little girl. But Yi Qingluo didn't want to be nosy. She couldn't care less. She wasn't omnipotent. There were more than 10 high profound class students. If she rushed out, wouldn't she be courting death? Especially if she were to poke her nose into this, wouldn't it be telling the high profound class students that she had come to the training forest? And then, it would implicate the devil class? In the end, the elder would investigate and close the secret passage to the training forest? Little Luo. Just as Yi Qingluo was about to pull Ruopan away, Old Man Song's voice suddenly rang in her mind. She was startled and replied, I'm here. If I'm not mistaken, that girl should be a beastman. Beastman? Yi Qingluo frowned, not understanding what the beast-human clan was. The beastman race is different from magical beasts. Magical beasts are pure beasts, while the beastmen race should be considered half human and half beast. Old Man Song explained in a deep voice, the beastmen race is born half human and half beast. Hearing Old Man Song's words, Yi Qingluo then noticed that the lady lying on the ground had 2 black ears on top of her bundled up hair. It was furry and trembled from time to time. Yi Qingluo narrowed her eyes. Cat beast. The Beastman clan is extremely rare in the Nirvana realm, and it can even be said that they have long been extinct. Old Man Song was silent for a moment, and his tone became serious. I never thought that I would actually be able to see another Beastman. The Nirvana realm was already extinct? Could it be that this young lady came from outside the Nirvana realm? Chapter 328. Contract? Although the beastmen looked like half human and half beast, but if you didn't look closely, no matter how you looked at it, it looked like a human. If you made a contract with it, it felt like you were making a contract with a person. The biggest difference between the magical beasts and the beastmen is this. Old Man Song continued in a deep voice. The magical beast contract is your battle partner for you to ride, to cooperate with you in battle. Whereas the beastman contract is to provide you with internal support, to receive the beastman's bloodline inheritance. Bloodline? Bloodline inheritance is to share the strength of the beastmen with you. Old Man Song's tone became a little excited. Humans all want to sign a contract with the beastmen, to receive the beastman's bloodline inheritance. This will be of great help to your cultivation. You mean I should save her? Yi Qingluo raised her brows slightly. This is for your own good. The beastmen appearing in Nirvana realm is a rare opportunity. Indeed, it was a rare opportunity. But, under such circumstances, how should she save that young lady? Madame Qingluo, what are you thinking about? And Ruopan carefully tugged at Yi Qingluo's sleeve. Yi Qingluo kept a calm face and didn't make a sound. And Ruopan was a little scared. A way to save her. Yi Qingluo frowned as her brain worked. She saw a student lifting the young lady with one hand and preparing to leave the training forest. Yi Qingluo didn't have time to hesitate. She gritted her teeth and used her thoughts to call out Shiju. Ever since leaving the magic beast forest, Shiju had been staying in the pet space. Shiju was the same size as Chi-Chi, sitting on the ground and looking up at Yiqing Luo. And Ruopan was shocked when a little thing suddenly popped out. Yiqing Luo quickly untied her uniform and took out a set of red dress that Dmo Xian had prepared for her from the profound phoenix ring. She threw the uniform to Ruopan. "Do you still remember the way?" Ruopan nodded. She might not be good at other things, but her memory was the best. She followed Yiqing Luo left and right along the way. To prevent getting lost, she specially remembered all the roads. "Alright, go back the way you came and wait for me at the place where we met," Yiqing Luo said as she untied her hair tie, letting her fine black hair fall down. "You want to be alone? There's less than 2 hours left. We'll leave immediately after we save them." At the same time when her words fell, Shiju received Yiqing Luo's instructions and its palm-sized figure suddenly transformed into a leopard beast in battle form. Roar! A sharp howl came from Shiju's mouth. The size of Shiju's combat form was a little bigger than when he saw it in the magical beast forest. This change naturally attracted the attention of the high-level class students. Yiqing Luo leaped up and landed on the back of Shiju. At the same time, her fingertips lifted a white veil, covering half of her face. When Shiju transformed, Ruopan was completely stunned. Her aptitude was mediocre, but she had a good memory. She liked to read books that were helpful to her cultivation. Naturally, he could recognize that this leopard-shaped magical beast was a low-level magical beast. A mirage beast. What level of magical beast was that? In the entire Three Springs City, there were no more than 3 families that could take out a mirage beast. Madame Qing Luo had actually contracted a mirage beast as her own war pet. Oh my god. What kind of pervert was her goddess? Chapter 329. Yiqing Luo's vision had been paying attention to Ruopan. Seeing that she had gone far away, Yiqing Luo rode on Shiju and speedily approached that group of students. "Who is it?" More than 10 students stopped in their tracks and raised the luminous pearl. One of the students frowned and berated sternly, "Do you know what this place is?" These students had some doubts in their hearts. The entrance to the heavenly training forest would usually only be open during class training. Why were there so many strangers today? Wait. Some students exclaimed, "That's a mirage beast. Low-level mirage beast." More than 10 students' expressions changed when they heard the 2 words, mirage beast. Their faces revealed an astonished look. Mirage beast? Even if it was a low-level mirage beast, they would not be its opponent even if they worked together to deal with it. But there was actually a person sitting on the back of a low-level mirage beast. There was actually someone who could contract a mirage beast. What happened? Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice came from afar. Yiqing Qian stepped on the air and landed gracefully in front of the students. Yiqing Qian had been living a miserable life recently. Ever since the last time when she brought Lu Shuiyu to catch Yiqing Luo for violating the school rules, but was slapped on the face by Yiqing Luo and was forced to wash the toilet for 3 days, Yiqing Qian had been isolated by the students. Lu Shuiyu wouldn't do anything to her on the surface, but the means of revenge in the dark was enough to torture her until she begged for mercy. Today, Lu Shuilan's promotion saved her from the edge of isolation. She wanted to achieve a good result in today's actual combat training, to regain the good impression of the students. Coincidentally, she had accumulated over 40 points and was preparing to leave to find Lu Shuilan to flatter her, but she discovered the commotion over here. Thinking of the recent few days, the students had isolated her under Lu Shuiyu's hint. She had to change her image and maintain the reputation of Three Springs Town's #1 beauty. Therefore, after she saw the commotion, she immediately came up to welcome them. Student Qing Qian. A student saw Yiqing Qian's arrival and was overjoyed. Although Yiqing Qian had offended Lu Shuiyu these few days, everyone had been avoiding her. But today Lu Shuilan had ascended to the position and everyone wasn't willing to offend the pampered eldest young miss of Three Springs sect, so they tried to cater to her perfunctorily. Most importantly, Yiqing Qian's profound grade was above them. Student Qing Qian, there's a stranger in the training forest. The student pointed at the young lady who was being carried, and glanced at Yiqing Luo's direction apprehensively. The minute Yiqing Qian came over, her vision fell onto Yiqing Luo. That red dress which was like a blooming rose and that enchanting temperament made her subconsciously think of Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Qian's eyes darkened as her gaze turned sharp. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she met Yiqing Qian's probing gaze with a smile which didn't look like a smile. The red lips under the veil curled up into a sneer. He had not expected Yi Qingqian to be here as well. But Yi Qingqian's eyes seemed to have recognized her. Yi Qingqian understood her so well? Yi Qingluo's charming eyes curved as she intentionally suppressed her own voice, changing the tone of her voice. I'm just passing by this place. I don't want to start a dispute with you. I only need you to hand that young lady over to me. Passing by? Yi Qingqian scoffed. The entrance here is usually sealed and only open today. How did you pass by? What has it got to do with you? Yi Qingluo patted Shiju lightly, indicating it to come closer. Chapter 330. No matter how mentally prepared Yi Qingqian was, she couldn't help but shriek out in fright when she saw the head of a huge leopard. I have no intention to cause trouble. Hand the girl over to me and I will leave immediately. Yi Qingluo spat in disdain as she raised her eyes and looked directly at the direction of the girl. The student who was carrying the young girl fell to the ground when his gaze swept past him. She blinked her eyes. Her pure eyes revealed a bit of fear and innocence, a delicate and pitiful look. Yi Qingluo's figure swayed as she flipped down from the jade and flew towards the girl. Just as her hand was about to pull the girl into her arms, suddenly a pa-pa sound came from the air. A soft whip as fast as lightning lashed over fiercely, making a whistling sound in the air. Trespassers in the heavenly training forest must be arrested and sent to the elder quarters. Yi Qingqian shouted and waved the long whip to stop Yi Qingluo's action. That whip was lashed with great force. Yi Qingluo's hand retracted and her body fell down softly. Her body had already avoided this long whip in an extremely strange posture. Yi Qingqian's delicate brows twisted into a ball and her face turned extremely ugly. She was unconvinced as she flipped the long whip and lashed it towards Yi Qingluo's body. Yi Qingqian's original weapon was a soft whip. Previously Yi Qingluo had destroyed a supreme divine whip and Yi Tianquang had found a pure quality long whip for her. Although it was not as powerful as the previous divine whip, but after all it was still the best of the pure quality. When the whip lashed down, there was a trace of indistinct electric current running along the whip's body. She is indeed student Qingqian, the #1 genius beauty of Three Springs sect, a well-deserved reputation. The high profound class students couldn't help but praise Yi Qingqian's action and posture. These students' aptitudes were all above average. But that didn't stop them from praising the strong. Yi Qingqian's whip skills were incomparably elegant. His every move was like a dance. And that long whip, swept through the air, brought about a sound of breaking wind, which made one's heart tremble. Even if it was them, probably no one could avoid Yi Qingqian's whip. But what surprised them was that the red-clothed woman with a white veil on her face was as nimble as a loach. They were unable to catch her at all. Yi Qingqian's every whip missed. The whips struck the ground around them, causing cracks to appear on the ground. Yi Qingluo took out a dagger from the profound phoenix ring and pointed it at Yi Qingqian. The radiance of the night pearls in the surroundings reflected the dagger's blade aura. It was extremely dazzling. Yi Qingluo didn't use the glower flame fan and based on Yi Qingqian's understanding of herself, she would probably be recognized the minute she used the fan. Yi Qingluo was proficient in light weapons. Daggers and feather fan were no different. That dagger could cut through iron like mud. It had barely touched Yi Qingqian by half an inch and it had already been cut. But as the dagger flew around Yi Qingluo's fingertips, it didn't hurt her fingers at all. On the contrary, Yi Qingqian was forced to retreat by that dagger. Yi Qingluo's control of the dagger was extremely agile, as it slashed towards her body, as though it would slice her neck in the next second. The terrain of the training forest was extremely disadvantageous to Yi Qingqian. The surrounding forest was dense and Yi Qingqian's long whip, the space was too narrow and faced with resistance. The power was not even half of the power displayed in a spacious area. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.